All right. You ready for that? I'm ready. All right. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I'll go ahead and ask everybody to silence their mobile devices since we have a lot of people in here tonight. And then I'll pass it off to Brandon for you to go ahead and open up your board meeting.
Want to go ahead and call our board meeting to order, and you have the agenda in front of you. Ask our board to approve our agenda as presented.
Make such a motion.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Right, and then I will go ahead and ask, would you care to lead us in our invocation?
Our Heavenly Father, as we bow before you this evening, we do thank you for this day you've given us, the opportunity to be able to come together. We thank you for the leadership of this county. Father, for all the dedicated employees. Father, of the county, the school system. Lord, we're blessed to live in this area. Father, although we may not be a large area, that's one of the benefits of being able to live here, to work here, and be able to work together. Father, we are so grateful that those that we see each day, Father, across the county are our neighbors, those who take our children to school, who see after children in school, Father, from the lunchrooms, to the custodians, to the faculty and staff. Lord, they're our neighbors as well. And same is true for our county employees. We thank you for that. We ask that you would lead through this meeting and that we would be good stewards of what you have blessed us with. Father, we just ask for your wisdom and direction. This is asked in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If I can get everybody to stand, we do have a flag in here, but our flag quality directly out of the door, so everybody.
In the yard.
Look that way. Attention, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our board is aware of our ethics and awareness conflict of interest reminder. Do any of the commission board members have any conflict of interest at this time that they would like to know?
I'll note that, for myself and Commissioner Roberts, staff of both school employees, I don't foresee there being any conflict.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Biddle. And do we have any additions or changes to add to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Clayton. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor, but our usual sign. All right, the motion carries. All right, County Manager, our first item up is our Board of Education's construction update. So I will let you start off with however you want to proceed forward.
Thank you. So, at our last, budget workshop, we had, folks from the school here. We bring in people to talk about their budgetary needs. And we felt like we needed a little bit more information to better make decisions because we know there's a lot of, funds that's obligated. We know there's a lot of bills coming up. We want to get this new middle school closed out. We want to make sure we quantified the amount of money it's going to take to pay it off. And we also got another project with the athletic complex going on that the county is holding the grant for and running the construction administration. So as doing such, the county's kind of running through the audit requirements to run these grants. These are state grants. So therefore, we do get audited on those. So we wanted to kind of ask questions and then maybe have, these questions have implications on how much money we need to give the school. It might be, that we need to finish up with a build, so there might be the funds that aren't available for, a project in the school that we might need to do our obligation to finish out the project. So that's kind of what we're here today to talk a little bit about. And we just bring you to the table in the interest of just being completely open and asking questions that, we're wanting to make sure the boards both know, both boards are aware of. So I've got some notes on your desk that the finance team and myself put together today as discussion points. If you look at, your debt on your tables, you'll have Mitchell County Board on Board project discussions. So, you know, I think I was just gonna make an open meeting. I think everybody can kind of chime in when we got our boards here. And, as we're asking questions, it might be Chad, it might be Beth, it could be someone else here that can give some input, insight on that. And of course, we got our attorneys over here to kind of maybe talk about the general statutory parts as we cross into that, and even maybe some of the audits with our finance team. And with all that said, we'll get into the fun thing of managing the business of the county and the business of the schools, because our children, I think we all have a vested interest in our children are going to these schools. We love our kids. We want to see our kids with a brand new middle school, completely done, completely funded. So, and we want our schools the best. I think we're all on the same page there. So as we ask these questions, it's just us trying to be a very fiscal and very sound with the people's money. So, that's what we're looking at. So I'm gonna start it out and start talking about stuff. And what I did was a format of kind of some of our data followed up by questions. So if you go down through there, at the bottom of each section, I divided these projects up. So I had data and then I had questions. So that's where we'll get to. So I'll run the data, then we'll do the questions. So if anybody needs to chime in at any point, I think we're trying to gain understanding. So I do want to make sure that it's known that we're out here trying to just understand everything. All right, so we're gonna talk about Mitchell Middle School. And right now we're hearing that, you know, this thing's opening come August. So, we know that the final closeout on this project's coming very soon. So Benoit states that their closeout amount for middle school project is $10,794,652. Keep in mind, this is Benoit. To our knowledge, and y'all, when we get to questions, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This amount does not include technology or furniture of the 10 million. This amount does not include Cope architect fees. This amount does not include road widening. The project will use, all of the special lottery grant money, and I call that the Ralph money. Now, I know there are a lot of folks that have a say in that, but we'll be using up the $7 million is left in that $40 million pot. That was the original grant. So to be exact, 7.961 million is left in that money. So what we want to do is we want to run that money through first. That's a money with a scope of work. It's grant money. We've got to use it in this project. Once we finish using that special grant money, I call it the Ralph money, then we're holding sales tax. And, you know, right now we're holding about 2.9, but when we get around August, we'll have about 3.9 of the,
Yeah, 3.1.
3.1. Yeah, I'm getting my numbers. Thank you. 3.1. We'll have about 3.1 come about August. So, right now, if we're just paying Benoit, we're going to have, we add our sales special lottery grant money and our capital sales tax money. Then we will have, we'll pay off Benoit and we'll have about $308,562 left. So, we also found that in the, lottery grant after purchase of playground equipment, there's $336,000 left. So the funds left outside the Benoit obligation is $645,309 that is available for use in the budget ordinance, what we set aside back in December. Benoit's final bill will likely occur 30 to 60 days after project completion. So we've been talking to Tanner out on Benoit and trying to figure out there's some unsuitable soil and some contingency credits that will be realized on the final bill. So there's not a check coming back for contingency or unsuitable sills, but it'll be a credit to the final bill. So that means there will be more sales tax, capital sales tax available potentially if we get that back. But Tanner said not to bet on that. And plus, we don't get it back till after the school's built to know. So what I'm looking at today is trying to say, let's manage our cash flow. What do we got left available to pay these projects? And what do we need right now? Because that's what we want to know from y'all today. So I'm gonna start asking a few questions. How much is furniture and what is the funding source for your furniture?
And the furniture cost is $4,391,975.77. So that's with tax. Without tax is 1,303,958. And I can share this with y'all. I'm not writing it down.
How much was that again?
After tax
Yeah.
or before tax, 1,303,958.58. We will have, the payment's not due until September on the furniture. And we will have approximately 1 million R&R funds and cover the other 303 out of our fund balance.
Gotcha.
For the furniture.
Perfect. Thank you.
So we also, you've heard the same thing I've heard from Tanner. And I think I hope you feel the same way. Because I've heard the same conversations every month that you've heard and every week, because I meet with him weekly, that we feel like on conservative that we're going to be at least $2 million under budget on the school, and we'll get up to 1.5 million of that, and we'll get it back, but like you said, it'll be left in the sales tax. And I do, with my conversations, and I think your meetings, Steve, you hear the same thing I hear. That's a very conservative figure. I do feel like it'd be even higher than that. So.
All right. How much is technology and what is the funding source there?
So the technology will be approximately, we don't know the exact amount of it, so we estimated high, $550,000. All that will be erasable except for the first 150. And the reason it's not erasable, you can only erase within the school year. So if we'd stayed on schedule, when we thought we were opening in January, then all of it would have been erasable. But there's some items that had to be installed now. So that part, even though it's erasable, we can't erase it because the year we're in. So we're looking at using our fund balance to cover that $150,000 and also our lottery funds to cover that. And then we'll pay the difference with, we'll have another lottery dump, June or July?
Yeah.
June or July, which will be another $120,000 lottery dump. Second, third, and fourth quarter will be. That's what's projected, $120,000. Which will cover our technology, then it will be reimbursed to. I'm not sure how long that direct Beth, I can't sure how long it takes to get reimbursed from E-Rate.
Should Douglas stay on top of all that, so
It might be quick, it might be.
they're usually pretty.
That's just good to know, because what I'm needing is, this is helping me a lot.
But the money will come back, other than
Okay.
$150,000. And also Shayna has written, since we did get the rate at $150,000, she has written, I know at least two technology grants, or three, that we'll hear from in the next few weeks that might cover the 150 also.
That's awesome. COPE, and I know Beth and I emailed, and we're not quite sure on what's due by COPE. She had a number she got from them, but then we had a bill with a schedule, and then I think we talked to Tanner, and he said he isn't sure, so we're guessing COPE's bill could be anywhere from, say, 150,000 to 500,000. So any idea on that with the COPE?
They had said that 100,000 would be guessing high,
Okay, so
but
there's,
then right now we've got it like 76,000.
okay, and that closes out our middle school bill, okay? I'm gonna put 76,000 on there. All right, next project to kind of rope in here and figure out and make sure we're all on the same page, both boards, is the road widening project. So, this project must be separated from the new middle school build in order to comply with the NCDOT grant. So, that's been pulled out. That's why I put it out, even though you need the road wide to get the thing open. But we're looking at it different to get reimbursed.
Yeah.
The NCDOT grant allows for the school to get reimbursed for the road widening project. And so here's the cost breakdown that we got for road widening. I got this off y'all's data. The NOI would be $650,513.50. COPE DOT and design fees is $100,000. So the total project cost on this is guesstimated to be $750,513.
And that's probably a little high. I don't think Coke will be that high, but we estimated.
Okay, yeah, you're like me. I want to project high.
We didn't want to go, yeah. over. That's something, you know, Alan, we would ask the commissioners to front us and then we reimburse you, when we got to reimbursement. Okay. Cause that's something, I used that in that meeting as I did. I think we heard about that. And was that December or November? And that was a surprise to all of us. No
Yeah.
one knew that was even part of the building the school
And,
project.
and I know what's been discussed, and I won't talk on behalf of my board, but you know, it's like, when you get reimbursed on that, then that comes in unrestricted to y'all, doesn't it? If I'm correct on that, so you could use it anywhere, right? Okay, that would be a good way to convert sales tax to, or capital sales tax, but I can't get into these kind of things. I'm not sure on the navigation
And if
there.
I may just say for one thing on Beth's part right there, Beth has already started a conversation, to find out what documents are needed for the reimbursement.
Yeah.
So that she can start building that portfolio and not be at the end of the project and go, okay, now what do we
Going back,
need?
playing back,
Playing
yeah.
backwards. She's been very
That's what-
preemptive on that.
That's awesome. That's what I know she's, on top of that.
And we could, you know, we could have covered that if we hadn't planned on using our fund balance for the technology and for the furniture.
Yeah, and that's helping me just knowing what we got and what we don't. Okay, county will, so we're gonna need on that.
A request.
Yeah,
I think
a
that's
formal request,
voted on by our board. I
Yeah.
believe.
good deal, and we'd love to get that sooner rather than later on that request so we can run it through our board. So yeah, if you can get us a request in that, maybe we can get that moving.
Can I ask when, and you've already started paying some bills on that, right, Beth?
Well, no, I'm holding them.
You're holding them. So see, they've got, but you've got invoices that need to be paid, so the sooner we get this, the sooner I can get
I'll
back
talk
the
to them
money.
about, they know that we're in
Okay,
this, so I had let them know, I said, look, I've got them, but we're not sure what we're doing here, so.
We have a meeting Thursday, our regular scheduled meeting, so I think we should be able to put together that request for that meeting, and then we can send that over to you.
because we meet
this week.
again. the
It's not
14th,
Thursday,
Oh.
it's the 23rd.
Oh, it is right.
23rd.
I don't, okay, I
So then
apologize. I don't know
we
which
would have
days
to-
we, yeah.
That's, I think, bad to our
Yeah.
unit, not.
So then, Alan, we have to get that on our June 3rd meeting, because we've got a meeting next
Well,
week.
it could be that
Oh,
their
good.
board's here right now. They could maybe make a resolution to just authorize it.
Wait, we're gonna meet the 25th though for budget presentation. We might could add it to that meeting.
Do that.
The fifth, but they meet the 23rd, right? So
23rd, still close, but
I think budget.
It's on my list to draft up
28,
some documents,
28,
then we can float those to the school
Okay.
board for their review and approval, and then get those on your agenda as well.
okay. Sounds like y'all are.
23rd and 25th.
Does that work for?
Oh, it's the 28th, sorry, I'm wrong, not the 25th, the 28th. So we could get it on that agenda.
So, yeah.
June 25th
I had
is.
Yeah.
We're on the, okay, we just need to make sure we hammer the date down. If we get that in May, we're good.
Wait, it's the 21st of May, sorry, we now know the dates.
No, it's kind of like I'm getting the calendar out here.
So we could do it the June 3rd meeting.
Okay.
Is that soon?
Is that soon?
Would that be okay with you budget wise?
Yeah, it'll be okay with me, as long as Beth thinks they're okay to hold those invoices.
As long
And
as
that's the only
Coke-
thing.
that's the only one I've not heard back from, I mean, they really don't know how much more to invoice for, what I've got, and then.
But I mean, would they be good holding that until we,
Till June.
till June, till we can get this?
As long as we do it before close out, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I put June 3rd as a potential time for us to draft that up and work with something on that for our boards to look onto that.
Well, and if our lawyers and can also be working on that in the meantime, so that we expedite that part of it as well, and not have to go back and forth several times. And sounds good.
And I'm sure our legal minds over there will be drafting us up something in the form of a formal request, so that'll work good. All right, folks, we're moving through these questions good, and like I said, this is an open deal. I hate to be the only one talking. I want anybody else to chime in, and honestly, if you have a question along the way, and I want y'all informed and this board informed, so if you have any clarifications or questions on these projects, we want that out there where everybody can get that done. All right, the next thing I want to talk a little bit about is our athletic complex. So, grant funds available for this project is 14.5 million via SCIP grant that was awarded last fall. It has a specified scope of work, and in your packets, you can see that specified scope of work. We got that from Kim Hoskins. So basically that grant comes with a scope, and that grant it's a SCIF grant. And any changes or modifications, when you get outside that scope, we gotta make sure that the Office of State Budget approves those. We've had to do that on our project. So if there's an audit that comes in and there's a change to the scope, they can come back and try to take money if you're outside the request scope. So as we move forward on that, this isn't, it's not a problem, but we wanted to just talk it and put it out there and have a discussion on it. So this project here is an athletic complex with new roads, softball complex, baseball field, resurfaced track, fence, of course, the auxiliary gym, the softball complex, new road, and auxiliary gym will be done by Vinoy is what we're understanding on that. So they're kind of GMP and CMARing into that aspect. And then the rest we're kind of, y'all are working with your contractors and tracking with our finance department. So our finance department's running this grant. So we just want to make sure, you know, the communication there, the bid process follows its required ways to bid on that. Questions on this one? Do y'all have an idea, this update on that latest GMP for that auxiliary gym deal? I think Tanner said
I
that.
can give you a GMP, but I can give you an update on it.
Okay.
So, this is project Travis and I worked on together. We worked on it as an athletic complex, and we sort of boosted the funds a little bit, hoping to get the road in. The roads are very expensive. So the road will have to be full for this project, but the road pool, Tanner told me we're well within the budget, the scope of work, if the road's pulled out. So we'll have plenty of money to complete everything we want to, even with the better option of having the bigger auxiliaries in, the better quality material. So the road will need to be full from the scope of work, so we do need to contact that. And that's something when we talked to Senator Haas, that was the unknown. I mean, Travis and I had pretty much prices on everything, but the road was unknown. You can only sort of guess the unknown. We had one contractor come and give us a price on the road, which to me,
I think they were about a quarter of what.
he and I both looked at that price. Really, you build a road that cheap? We should have done this a long time ago. We sort of both questioned that. And then when they actually dug into it with these bids and stuff, it was about a quarter of the price, because you got to build retaining walls and all that. I mean, that's something we could look at as a future project, and we'll leave the space. The space will be left for the road. Could be something in the future that we write a grant for, or try to get, but the road will need to be full. But again, as he and I both met with Senator Haas and talked to him, that was the bottom thing on our list. The grant was truly for an athletic complex, is what we approached the grant for, and then the road just will need to be pulled. And we will not go over budget on that.
Where's the athletic complex gonna be,
Right behind Mitchell High School,
Black
where
Rock. Where the band practiced, or?
they practice, and then Travis has moved the band, and what's the part of the track he moved up top? Shot put,
Shot put distance will be at top.
and the band can use the auxiliary gym for practice.
So the plan was to take the road around the school and come out, is that,
Well, we're pulling the road won't be part of the project.
That's what the
That's
plan
what the
was.
plan was, yeah. Yeah, but roads are very, lot more expensive than you think.
All right, now, a question we had on that is, so we got these projects running. What happens if this complex goes over budget? I know we got a 14.5 million budget. Y'all got some plans on that, if you exceed that?
Well, like I said, we talked to Tanner, and with the GMP, the road pool, it won't exceed that.
Okay. That's good to know, yeah, because that GMP.
Travis has already got on his parts, he's already got contracts with prices on that, so we're set like on.
Pretty good.
The fence has already been done, that we get ready to resurface the track anytime, Travis,
It's already pulled up.
and then he's already got the prices on
The turf and the baseball
turf, the
field.
baseball field on the lots,
Start
and
next.
we're set on price there.
You got it reeled in pretty good, man.
All that'll be on budget. The
That's
last
good.
thing we're lacking is the auxiliary gym.
Okay. And I think with the road out of that.
With the road out of that, we'll be fine.
That's a good deal. That's what we just need, these updates and. All right, Harris and Deaton plans is our next topic. So Harris and Deaton will be vacant here come summer, I guess, especially fall. And for sale, I know we've got through the commission board a waiver to possibly waive our right of first refusal. I think our board's kind of wanting to be alongside of you and see what's going on with it. So we,
Oh, we'll sell it to you.
you know, hey, if the price is low enough, we might buy it. So, you know, we're pretty poor. You kind of see how we're splitting everything. So you get her down there in our budget, we might be able to do you a deal. So yeah, anyways, we got them on sale and, few questions on that. How will the prices be set for each school?
John, you want to share the?
I sure can. I mean, so there's three ways to sell a piece of real property if you're a local government in North Carolina. You can either get a private offer and expose it to upset bids. You can do an auction, which I have never had any of my clients do in 20 years of doing this, or you can accept sealed bids. And the sealed bids are kind of like you do with bids for anything else. You're looking for the highest one that you get. All of them are always subject to, and this is something I was reviewing with Ford, always subject to approval by the board. You're not going to be obligated to sell at any of those prices until you reduce it to a contract and agree to do it. So I don't know that I've ever had, and so the idea that I think that you had, and I think it's a good one and worth trying to figure out how to make it work for us all, is whether to set a reserve that really is a level at which we're not going under that, we're not going to sell it. I've many times had boards go to the end of an upset bid process and say, this is not enough. We're at like half as much as we wanted to get. We're going to reject all of these offers. We're just going to pull it back and try again some other way. I don't quite know how to set a reserve that lets the county go back into its sort of right of first refusal that you have by statute. So just to speak briefly to that, 115C-518 is the statute that says a school board, before it can go do one of those three processes to sell a piece of real property, has got to offer it to its county first for sale at either a fair market value or another price that they figure out amongst themselves. Once you have cleared that hurdle, a school board can do one of those three options. But a thing that I think is worth keeping in mind is none of those options prohibit the board from, you're not tied into those three. You also can still go back to the statute that allows intergovernmental sale of property, again, at a price we just figure out. I think that's 168. 272, I think. You're right. I didn't say that, sir. My learned colleague here agrees with me, and I think that's very wise of him. So if we don't set some artificial, I'm a little worried that if we set a reserve number, then the market will think that that's what it ought to shoot at, and we're not going to. It might limit us. Although I do understand a fallback that maybe sets a floor is good too. I feel like, and in talking this over with Chad and Brandon some, I feel like we might have a potential offer out there that I kind of want the board to get to vet and see if it's, and before we throw a lot of numbers out there that in public that anybody might shoot at and try to lowball for that reason. Might be worth trying to see if we don't get a real good beginning offer and you still have to do an upset bid process or something. So I throw that out there for y'all's discussion, but that's my thought about where we are.
Mr. Henning, with that, just out of curiosity, would the reserve have to be published, or would that be still something that could be set between amongst the board and without having to be published as a reserve?
It's
And that would
pretty
be,
tricky.
that's what I'm thinking, that would be challenging to do that.
It does, because the closed session, the open meetings law allows the board that might acquire it to go into closed session and talk about what they would acquire it for, but the board that's gonna sell it can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're kind of your own grandpa somewhere there.
And my thinking is, when you see auctions or something where that reserve bid is there and it's not published, but that's not dealing with public meeting and public entities. So I just want to make that clarification.
That part makes it challenging.
Yeah,
Another thought, let me throw out another potential method that Chris Kimball and I were thinking about for this very question of how to do this is we could publish as we are putting this thing out. Say if you didn't get a really good beginning offer, we're talked about the possibility too of just listing it for sale, hiring a realtor to will get a commission if it gets sold, which you can do. It would be published with, once you get that first private offer that's your beginning level and you put it out for upset bids, you could publish it as, and make everybody aware, at the end of this process, we're gonna go back to the county and offer them the opportunity to upset this bid. So the market kind of knows as you're doing this, and it's been fair game for everybody who's doing it, that you're gonna offer your county the last opportunity to buy. So that if it isn't a number that the board's happy with and the county's interested at that number, then maybe you maximize the offer from the market, and the county still might want it, even if at that number. I don't know. It's another way to go about doing that possibly.
So that sounds like we got some legal discussion to go through
yeah.
and kind of, the two of y'all can kind of come to what you feel best fits both interests on this and how
I think
it's
that's
maximum
potentially a
price.
good option for both boards where the county has the opportunity to match whatever that might be or to exceed it. And the other item for the commissioner to keep in mind is at what price is this something you could put into service for the county if that's what you wanted to do, or at what price is it better to go to some private industry use or some private ownership use? So this would be a way that leaves the door open for the county to put it to a use if you have a use, and also lets you be involved in the process. So I think that's potentially something that we could do. The, I guess, concern on that's the question is, does that affect or dampen some of your private party bids? I think that's the only concern is, somebody goes shy away from bidding if they know it's still gonna have to go through that other hoop. That may be a theoretical hoop as more so than a practical hoop, because, ultimately, there is this statute that's been mentioned that has to be contended with, and that the county has the opportunity to consider it. And I think ultimately the school board will acquire their highest and best price from either the high bidder, or if the county wants it, they'll acquire those funds from the county.
I think the interest on the board's part is just not to wait too long, because maintenance and, just the ongoing expense of ownership for, aging buildings is significant. So we definitely don't want to be sitting here in 6 months' time going, how are we doing this? I think if we need to get something in motion much sooner than that if we can.
So that kind of parlays into my next question. What's your interest look like on these two schools? Not without going into, some in a public meeting about who it is, but is their interest? Are you all getting inquiries into the purchase of these schools?
Yes, I've had, one mining company reach out, interested in both schools. Also had another gentleman representing a nonprofit that didn't tell me who the nonprofit was. It's interested in one of the schools. But that's the only two that actually reached out to me. I've told them, if anyone has eyes, first, there's a process. First, we offer it to the county, and then we go from there. We did have the closing of Harrison Deaton at our last board meeting and, when we started the meeting, the board got started, had to close and nobody was there. They closed 2 schools and 2 people came in, 4 people came in, 6 people came in, about 25, 30 people were sitting in there. And they'd already closed the schools. So I looked around and where I was at Harris so many years, I realized it was the neighbors. And they had the same concern that I had when I lived in Gilladine and Gilladine was closing. And you hear all kinds of rumors. They'd heard the same type of rumors that I heard when I lived in Gilladine. And you don't want certain things in there. So I do think we need to respect and listen to concerns of the neighbors. I don't think we want to put something in there that's going to upset Harris Heights or all of Harris Street and everyone there. I think we need to look for the good. And the 2 that have reached out to me, I do think the neighbors will be very pleased with their plans that they've shared, or the one plans that they've shared with me.
Will y'all be doing any public hearings or anything on the schools as you get ready?
I told those neighbors I'd be glad to meet with them. I gave them my cell phone number and phone number, and I told them I'd be glad to meet them. And when you all make your decision, that I would come back and schedule a meeting, meet with them, answer any questions that they had or any concerns. And I'd be willing, if they wanted to elect, sort of like, I know some of you remember the process when Gilladine Tiffin Hill closed. We dealt with leaders from those communities come in and spoke to the board and gave their ideas and plans. And I would hope that they would do that, elect a leader from that community, and be willing to come and speak to the board. And you know, I'd like to see, I wouldn't like to see this where is this, this doesn't where is, just communicate with people so they know what's really going on. You know, when I told them, we came back out of closed session, and I went up front and told them, you know, board's already voted. And I know why you're here. And I said, you all have any questions for me? And I answered 7 or 8 questions and told them the process, and then they all got up and left. So that's why they were there. They want to be communicated to you. And I definitely want to involve them, just like the previous board did when we closed building Tiffin Hill. I think we listened to communities there, and y'all remember that as well. I didn't want a certain thing to be in throwing distance of my house, Gilladine. Ended up with a great facility, Gilladine Community Center. So I'd love to see something like that happen, because you try to respect the wishes of your community members, your taxpayers, what they would like to have. And definitely, I think they need the input.
Would there be a way, just like Alan was talking about, you know, for the county to maybe get the property back or buy it through a grant or something like that's maybe far-fetched, but I don't look from an education standpoint. I mean, I was in business with my dad in a small business, but say, for example, I'd heard before, and I'd mentioned it to John, maybe, you know, somebody mentioned it one time, you know, say, well, if you get a grant on those and make a nice apartments out of them and everything, you have to leave outside structure just like they are, but you can go in there and rip the insides out and stuff like that, and make apartment complexes out of them. Nice ones. But several times, you know, we've had our board meetings and everything, and we've had some good candidates, you know, that have applied to this county, you know, to teach. And a lot of times, 2 or 3 of them, you know, Chad would tell you that, or anybody else says, well, we want to come up to Mitchell, but we can't find a house. We can't find a place to stay. Our family can't find a place to stay. I mean, not necessarily limited to, having a decent apartment complex, but, you know, have it first place, you know, for county employees or something like that. But my point would be, you know, if there was a way to get a grant or something, to have money come back, have money, make the purchase, long-term investment for the commissioners and the school board to take advantage of. Does that sound crazy?
No, that's the kind of thinking. We got a lack of workforce housing. I think Jeff on EDC has heard that a lot on his board. You know, that's in rural America, workforce housing is a deficient thing. When a new teacher moves in, when a person comes to work at one of the mining companies, they're having to come from Morganton, Weaverville, because there's no workforce housing. There's no rental options really. So that is a very good idea. That's kind of where the need's at. And I know on a state level, we've been at some meetings, I think, and they're talking about trying to, they always incentivize low income housing, and for good reason, but they never incentivize workforce housing. And so there's now a new push in Raleigh, I'm hearing, to incentivize the workforce housing. And we're hoping that might come to fruition soon.
And
We
if I-
have-
If I could briefly, I'm sorry, Alan, we've had success with a couple of our K-12 school board clients that have worked through with their, well, so the first one I ever was part of was Asheville Buncombe Teacher Housing. That was the State Employees Credit Union Foundation, sort of bankrolled that. And the way it worked was that they financed the construction on a zero interest forgivable loan over some period of time. It had to be held and managed by a nonprofit who was like the leasing agent. And it was restricted to use by, and I think they ended up adding local government employees, but it's local government employees and teachers, essentially. And now in place of the State Employees Credit Union Foundation, the Dogwood Health Trust has stepped in, and they are kind of the bank behind that, so to speak. I know they're moving forward in Burke on a project like that, taking in old school property, and they're gonna turn it into teacher housing. I had been working with one in Rutherford County, where they were gonna do the same thing with the old RS middle school building. Now, that one has gone, for reasons I don't understand, completely cold. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up that this would be an easy thing to step in and do it. We were working on the one in Rutherford for a year and a half or something, and I don't know, it's like priorities have changed somehow, but I'm sorry, Alan, I interrupted you.
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, that's what I was gonna say. And on top of that, you know, and y'all may be in the same boat we are. We've lost several good teaching families that were gonna come here. They couldn't get housing. And, you know, now we probably would have kept them because we got a pre-K. You know, that was very important. They were looking at childcare situations and housing, you know, and that's important for your employees, our employees, the mining companies and everything.
Exactly. And I know we got a Dogwood grant out for a housing study to do the entire county. It'd be about a $300,000 study where they'll get in and do a really good analysis of our water sewer infrastructure and start circling them target areas where it might be really easy to get some workforce housing in the area. So that's coming soon. All right, we'll get some more questions. It's good. Anybody else got input and all around this? Because there is some this community discussion about these vacant schools that how will it benefit the community. So that's good discussion. All right, property condition assessment, Chad, have you got that in the works for these schools? Are you doing anything for Deaton and Harris on the PCA? I know you talked, I think, about that. It was a facility needs assessment.
For Harrison Deaton.
Yeah, well, like before you sell them, sometimes you'll do that property condition assessment to get them ready for the market.
Do we do any disclosure on anything as far as structural concerns or anything on those?
Minimal. I mean, we're in a caveat emptor state, let the buyer beware, and
Okay.
then whoever is gonna buy needs to do their own inspection.
I think that's kind of where you was going with that question, whatever.
Yeah, I thought that, you know, the full disclosure through the property condition assessment, but if y'all are doing this buyer beware.
We need to do, you have to disclose lead, asbestos,
Yeah.
it's, not a whole lot else.
Okay. And I think we covered the projected start and sell price for each school. I think y'all are wanting to hold out on that and kind of see a little bit about what non-public avenues present. So I can understand where you're at on that.
We'll try to do that quickly in 4 hours, just discussing so that we can get both boards in motion on where we're gonna dispose of those properties.
Okay, this one here is one we were just kind of trying to analyze your funding. If, let's say, this is just a hypothetical situation, if each one of the schools sell for $1 million and then you have $2 million in your coffers, I know that sale item is supposed to be directed toward capital. And so those capital needs, that would be 2 million. If that scenario happened, what will be your most, highly needed capital needs you cover with that 2 million?
We just put that in a quarter assessment for the year, emergency guide.
Put it all in the
You would
budget.
spend it all.
You just have you a balance to work off of,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have, okay, yeah.
I mean, we don't have, say, okay, we got a $2 million project or $1 million, we don't have that.
Okay. But you could build the road to the, athletic
Good, but
complex.
I'd rather not use that for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, obviously you're still gonna have some projects at Mitchell and good.
There's always
Be
gonna be
taken care
the
of,
upkeep
yeah.
and the maintenance and.
I think you just touched on it, the reason I wouldn't want to use it for that is for emergency and capital need that came, that would be. Yeah, because, we did finish the school year earlier than we thought, than we planned. We planned on another year of sales tax, another year of
Yeah.
lottery money. That would come in, another year of R&R. It's a great surprise, but we didn't plan this from day one.
It's depleted the capital sales tax.
I don't think if anybody sitting here would tell me when they set that first wall on September 12th, we'd be walking in the building on August 5th. I
so,
didn't know that. I didn't expect that. When Tanner told me that, I was on my way to high school. He asked me if I was sitting down. I said, well, I'm in the truck. I sure didn't expect that. So, yeah.
But yeah, the capital sales tax, just to FYI, will probably be depleted temporarily as we close out this new middle school. So that sales might be what you're having to rely on for your capital.
That's what I was thinking. I wouldn't put it like you said, the road or anything.
We got the high school 1978 when they moved in. And you've got Gooch that needs a ton of work, and Greenlee's not the new school anymore. It's 20 years old.
Yeah, 20-year-old new school.
It's got issues that it needs too, and those are things we're gonna have to look at also.
And also, we're eligible for the big need space again this fall. She's talking to legislators. I met with him last week. We've got a very good shot, especially if the state superintendent is in there. I think we got a very good shot of getting $62 million. Writing a grant for Mitchell, Greenlee and Gooch renovations. Up to, I said 62 million, up to 62 million. And Ralph will consider high city tell me that they want more details now than they think. When we wrote the first grant, it was more, you asked for money, now they want pricing. That's why we looked at doing we did an RFQ on a facility study to get some exact pricing. So it gives us a good shot to get $62 million. I don't think anybody would object sitting in this room and getting another $62 million fixing up 3 schools. Started helping with it.
Chad, I have a question. So with the sale of the school, could you use that money to help get, the other facility ready for pre-K? Like, is that capital?
As far as that,
Not the program
Oh, the
itself,
game.
but getting the facility, because you said there's to build a bathroom in the classroom, something to that effect for pre-K.
yeah, that was actually, I didn't realize it gave, we do have a room with 2 doors, which I didn't realize that. So Jennifer could probably tell you about how much they're getting, it's a lot better shape than we thought originally.
It is.
We thought, we didn't think there was a room at Gage that had the.
The one I looked at, it's already got the bathroom.
Yeah, and I think that we're gonna have, Mary Lee from the Partnership for Children to come over, in the next few weeks and to look at that room, because she can tell us exactly what needs to be done to make it up to the requirements that they have. So she can come and tell us what we need to do.
And we've got a lot of grants that are outstanding. We've already ordered the playground. Jennifer wrote a great grant for the playground. We don't hear from that till July, so that could be retroactive and they're fine, we told them that, we had to order it, but there's a grant out there for that. There's grants we can get that would help that situation. Not saying we'll get them, but we write a grant for everything.
We want just the pre-Ks to be able to serve the whole county. We want to get one over here at Gooch and keep the one at Greenlee and love to see one myself at the new middle school, kind of split it up, because their kids are out there.
The original plan, I think, Alan, I think you and ladies and Beth and I were all part of that when we first talked about the funding new school. The lottery money was what we were going to use for furniture. And then when we closed the school out, we thought we had plenty of time, because that time we thought it was open in August 25. We'd see what money we had left over and then write grants for that. And then, they did throw a wrench. It's a good wrench. It threw in everything. It's just how you back up and use it differently.
That's kind of the purpose of this meeting. We're a year ahead of schedule and we just needed to kind of get closeout data and, I think we came, I can remember the last board-on-board meeting was when we were kicking off this bill. it was like, what, about December, and I can remember we had an MOA put together, and we kicked this build off. Now we're having a meeting. Our next one is to start the process of closing out this middle school build and just quantifying our numbers, making sure we're all good on everything. So that's pretty interesting, pretty cool. Plans for disposal and sale of classroom furniture and equipment. What's that looking like for all these empty vacant schools?
Our plan is to offer it to school systems first. We'll be, if there's school systems out there that need it first, and then we're gonna, what's that website go?
Good deals.
Our deals with the remaining of them. That.
Some people all come and stuff on their very
It's crazy.
expensive.
It is crazy what they're about.
Brandon made us a believer, right? Because we were kind of skeptical at first. Yeah.
we didn't think they'd sell. And, you know, as we look at funding and stuff, we say, you know, y'all gave us a capital outlay, spreadsheet kind of showing that the need for the 24-25 capital needs were 1.162 million. So, if capital sales tax, and I just hit on that, capital sales tax is exhausted due to middle school build. What is your plan to cover your capital needs? Kind of, what do y'all think?
I think just like what we've done the last 2 years, basically, you know, just only do, if there's any immediate needs and put it on tiles, yeah. You know, a lot of these are needs, but there's needs that they can be put off.
That's kind of like us with the health
Yeah.
department. I think we put the siding off, what, 4 or 5 years. It's finally cut, and we're going there now. We're fixing it, but,
I think,
yeah, we know that.
I think it kind of goes back to the previous question too, though. You're gonna have some capital, it may not be $2 million, from the sale Harrison to Eaton. So then you're prioritizing, if you have emergencies, you've got that way to cover those emergencies.
And our hope is that, you know, that final closeout with the middle school, that there's some money left in unsuitable schools, and the contingency that they have doesn't deplete your sales tax, so you'll have a little sales tax,
And
capital sales tax.
As you said earlier, there's no guarantee on that till the keys are handed over.
Yeah.
But it does look very favorable.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
That's it.
All righty, we keep it on moving, and like I said, we're getting it figured out here.
And you could always have emergencies, just like we had over Bowman.
Bowman, yeah, sewer.
The funny thing's happened, I mean, it's two of the schools were closing, I think it's this week or last week, the freezers went out. But, you know, we're down to the wire, we could move to other freezers and cover.
Yeah.
But, I guess they knew we were closing, so they decided to go out, but we didn't repair. Yeah, Heather's having to take food every morning, and
It's always that way.
there, but if you get us 3 more weeks, we're fine.
We had the same thing on some air conditioning units on a building that we might be having vacant when we hope to move to Bowman with some of our county stuff, and we're like, you know, if that would have waited this 6 more months, we could have, had a little bit more savings. So, yeah, now getting into kind of general fund, and as we move toward the budget request, I know the total school budget request for the fiscal year 24-25 was $939,407. That breakdown consists of the local $625,000, Article 44, $164,407, and $150,000 for pre-K. Mitchell County currently has on their recurring payment of $2,172,622 yearly. That's in that will never go down. There's discussion that we will add to it to help y'all with your low income and small county or something like
Low
that.
will, small will.
There you go. Mitchell County also pays $272,563 for one-to-one technology, the Apple computers that these kids get. We pay a little over half on that, and we'll be paying that through July 1st, 2026. Just some more data on that, you know, what the schools get from the county. I want these boards to kind of be aware of it. You know, the county gives a huge amount to the schools. So operational funding, as I said, was $2,172,622. Forest timber pass through 25,201. Special appropriation, 216,000. Article 44 sales tax, 191,118. One-to-one technology, 272. 563. Fines and forfeitures are tracking to be around 56,000. And, you know, this is set up, we want our kids educated, we want our kids supplied, we want the needs of our kids in our county taken care of. We want their education to be top notch, to be top rated. So a few questions as we try, as this commission board tries to make a decision on where they're to lay in the funding. We're trying to say, well, what's going to be needed to close these builds out? But then we're also saying we got some requests out here in this room. So we're wanting to look at all that. So some questions, we've been getting word from the community that the teachers have not been informed about their positions for the next school year. It has been said that their positions and staffing is dependent on the county's funding of the school. The general statute is geared toward counties covering building maintenance, construction, equipment, supplies, utilities, and other operating related expenditures. Teacher positions are typically funded by the state, not all, but typically. Have you or your staff told any of your teachers that their jobs are dependent on county funding?
I can't speak for my staff, I can speak for myself. The only conversation I've had with principals is that, you know, positions are dependent on funding, not just county funding. We didn't find out what low wealth funding was, so last week. We didn't know what Title I funding was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we thought, I don't know how we misunderstood last year, but we thought the amount that we were getting last year was reoccurring. We put that 200 and some $1,000, we put that in people. And if we don't get that, yeah, we will have to get, I think Brandon asked me that question the other night, we will have to cut some more positions. Yeah, I will. So yeah, I mean, I'm just honest, it is dependent on funding.
So county funding,
Local's part of it. I know you got the statute there that what county is responsible for, and then you got the state turn around saying, well, you know, we gave you money for building a new school, the county's responsible for that. So I hear that from both sides.
I did reach out to the other finance officers and there's not another, I mean, they laughed at me because I was like, how do you guys get your local people? How do you get them out of local? How do you not fund personnel? And I literally got horse laughs. They were like, good idea.
Yeah.
Like, when you figure that out, let us know. I've got one lady that emailed me back and said she's got 98 people.
But Beth and I'll do what the board tells us to do, of course. But my recommendation to the board, and I've already talked to Beth about this, we are not gonna put personnel in anymore unless it's reoccurring funding. Because I can't tell people, I can't wait this every year and have to tell people they don't have a job. This is the first year I've had to tell people they didn't have a job.
It's a heavy weight.
I'll say with that too, and understand that when the state looks at funding classrooms and teachers, they're looking at a district perspective. So they fund it based on the number of students and they don't do proportions. So then when you have, schools, multiple schools in that district, and how do you come up with that half a teacher and 3/4 of a teacher? So that's where you depend on the local funding to help support those teachers that the state's not giving us full funding for. And that's where it creates some of that challenge. And ultimately, I mean, as you pointed out, the county by general statute may not be seen in that regard. But in order to be able to not go over number of student teacher ratio, we are heavily dependent on local funding to be able to meet some of those gaps.
So a follow-up on that, it was stated in a 2-on-2 meeting earlier this year that the new middle school would not result in any layoffs. It was said that any downsizing would be via retirements and normal attrition. So we was just kind of, you know, wanting to update on it. So it has become that there's layoffs that's going to be needed in this.
Well, if we get the local funding, they won't be.
Well, there's some people that we counted on retiring that's been there since
Yeah, I mean,
Noah. But they're not.
They didn't retire.
So now, I want to make this out in the room, the local, we don't want to say that, so you're gonna say the county, you didn't get your job because the county.
I haven't
didn't
said that
fund
to
it.
anybody.
No, I'm just saying, if we don't get the local, I don't want that narrative on our commission board saying that, you know, since you didn't get X amount of dollars, you don't have a job. So I'm just wanting to put that out there in the room. We don't want that. We want to see these teachers
I don't think nobody. in
with
here
a
said
job.
that.
Our board is teachers. We got 2 teachers on them and they're very, you know, very pro school. I want that to be known.
No, but I mean, I didn't ask, you know, the pre-K comes out, but I think they know they don't get funding, they're not gonna have a job. So I mean, they just know that. I mean, I didn't tell them that. I just couldn't know that. Did I ask any of you guys about? Okay.
No, I believe you, that, you know, it's not, it doesn't look good for pre-K, because I can't, I mean, from my.
From the outside,
My
okay.
numbers, I cannot, and
Yeah.
we expressed that, and the state is like, I've had multiple conversations with many people begging, literally got on a conference call and begged. And this lady said, you are barking up the wrong tree. We do not fund you. We're giving
There's
you
no
what
fund.
NC pre-K gives you, go to your county.
And now I say also too, sometimes you have people who say they have intentions to do one thing and then when it comes down to it, their plans change. And that's part of that conversation as well on their side is, yeah, this is what we're looking at doing.
Yeah.
But, well, wait a second, I'm gonna hang around a bit longer.
Yeah.
And that makes it a
Understood,
challenge
yeah.
there from that side.
Yep. Understand the HR side of it is they might tell you that it's gonna be attrition and they're leaving. But then they have a change of plans and they're still there and now you are faced with that layoff.
Well, one of the
Very true.
that has been done also is a lot of, you know, temporary people. They've been told, you know, when they were hired in the last couple of years, you know, you're only gonna be here till then, you know, or part-time or whatever to be able to fill some of these, not let, unless, you know, something major came up.
And I'll also say with that too, over the past at least 2, maybe 3 years, Rich County, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as there have been vacancies, we've pulled in retired teachers to come in and fill that to prevent having that as you downsize or consolidate, trying to minimize that so you don't have that layoff situation. And we have been heavy in those retired teachers that fill position gaps the last several years for us.
That's
We're
always.
gonna have to continue to utilize, I guess, those retired teachers, with up in the new schools due to licensure and, yeah, I guess just general fitment into positions or all.
New school.
Yeah, we're gonna continue to utilize retired teachers there.
You want me to show you? Is that okay? This is the staff. New school. It's got everyone's name.
I don't wanna say this, cause somebody's gonna come ask me if I got a job.
Hey,
This is.
I don't wanna do
Shows you what they're at, or where they currently work.
Sure.
And there's, you know, there's 100 employees on there, but there's 2 open. That I need back. We can make 102 things.
Well, I've got a question. I mentioned this the other night. The one out, back to the printout that y'all gave us Southern. 19 positions, full and part-time were cut in this year's plan. Several handed through retirement with a previous notification. However, 7 Mitchell County school employees will lose their jobs in this plan. So Commissioner Steve Pittman asked a question the other night. Number of employees for the school. And we estimated 30. I actually found out, I think Deaton had many big employees, this is bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodial staff, anybody that's employed with that school. So I put in 24, I left 30 at Harris and 30 at Dayton to be a very conservative number.
Mr. Hardin, are you including the reduction of goods as well?
That's what I'm getting ready.
Okay, okay.
So how many employees do you have at Goodrich? Teachers, cafeteria, bus drivers that don't overlap with other schools? 20?
Yeah, there's more in terms, how do you do that? I do that.
Best gonna pull that information for you.
Okay, then when I get that information, if you'll go ahead and pull me Harris, true numbers for Harris and true numbers for both.
If you'll look, it's my help to explain, Mr. Hardy, if we look at the sheet that I just gave you,
Okay,
on the current school, it tells what school they're at and where they're coming from, and maybe, maybe I shouldn't. We moved,
well, instead of me flipping through this, just give me a time.
okay, Sheila Wilson is our behavior specialist in the office of Greenland. But I won't put her at the new school, I counted her. Jim Sturgill is technically Mitchell High School, he's gonna be teaching there, I counted him. Laura Wilson's gonna come down and teach math one block, I counted her. ESL teachers, both ESL teachers, they're all at Louisville schools, I counted them. Eddie and who's your two tech people, Eddie and Derek, don't have an office anywhere, so they got an office there, I counted them. So there's no,
That's current staff, correct? That's not.
yeah, there's no new person on here. At all. Everybody on it, at least 102 or 100, but there's 2 open. 3 open, actually, so there's 99. Everyone on here has a current job at one of our schools.
But they were currently had a job,
They have a job, yes.
so they were counted in the original numbers, correct? They were counted in the 26 at Dayton.
No, they're, some, like I said, some of them didn't come from Dayton, some came
I
from
know.
Greenlee, some came from Mitchell,
Okay,
some came from,
I guess what I'm trying to get
There would be a
to,
couple, Jeff, that would, not count in there, even number, I mean, like Mr. Sturgill, who's gonna be from Mitchell to the new school. So you have some like that wouldn't have been in the Dayton Harris Gooch.
Jim
Okay.
Prather's our psychologist. He doesn't have an office anymore, so became an office at the new
but he was
school.
still an employee.
He was, yeah.
Okay.
So there's no new positions.
Well, adding the numbers up and taking the 40% from the, excuse me, Gooch, it looks like you got 92 total employees. That's counting everybody.
But you gotta realize that Jim Prather served Bowman, Jim Prather served Gooch, Jim Prather served Harris, but he was never on their list. These 2 ESL ladies served those 3 schools, but they never were on those 3 schools list. And you got 2 teachers here, they'll tell you,
Well, how'd they get paid if they're not on the list?
they're not on Deaton Harris, or they were assigned to another school.
They work like 3 schools, but they're on assignment.
It's like when I was at Greenlee, I had,
Where's
Physical
both
therapy.
offices available at now?
they threw everybody, they threw Lori on, she was in my building, guys. But, I had Lori, I had,
And he lived to tell us that.
ESL, I had, OT, I had PT, what else did I have? What else did I have? All kinds of stuff, And, that were not part of my school. I mean, they were not listed under my employer. They just had an office there. So they hadn't even nowhere else to put them. Thank goodness they did. I was glad to have you for it.
He invited him.
So Brianna Swearden, she is a counselor at Mitchell High School, so she'll be a quarter at the new school, but she was listed on Mitchell High School's payroll. Eddie Silvers and Eric Cox were technicians. They didn't have a place.
But how is she being paid?
We paid them through central office. When I say central office, that's Sandy does her payroll, not central office funds, but Sandy does her payroll.
They're just like part of
Jim
that.
Fraser, psychologist, Hugh Wilson, behavioral specialist, Kelsey Hobson, physical therapist, OT, Angel Atkins was at Greenwood, or at DC. Cindy Abbott, Jenny Brooks, speech, They were located at Greenway. Forgot. So we actually were able to give people places instead of carrying stuff around all the time. So that's why it made the numbers look higher. There's no new created position.
More questions? The nurses. You have 3.5, correct? Okay, 3 of those that I found out through the health department are paid for from the state of North Carolina, $50,000 a year. So, let me ask you this, that's 150 grand. Does that include their salary and benefits for 2? And then you pay a nurse and a hack out of local money?
Yes and no, because I have to make it work. I have to make it work for that 150,000. So whatever's left, I can use to pay for whichever nurse that we have that. So 2 of them are funded from that, but then there's not much left with that. So I have to play. So one of them is paid from like all 3.
So they're funded and benefits. When you total 150,000.
Yes, sir.
All right, R&R funds question we got, began during 2021, how much R&R is available, how does that work? I just wanted to hear some of y'all's take on that.
Year 1, it was 300,000, it's been 500,000 every year thereafter. When the new school year starts, we'll have right at $1 million after this.
When does R&R typically drop?
Usually beginning of the year.
Beginning of the year, okay. Beginning of the fiscal year or
Fiscal year. And that's something that's, it's continued, I mean, when it's in next year's budget, but talk to the legislators, they say it's going to continue, but you never know, because it's always a 2-year budget, but I don't have any indication that they're not going to continue it.
It looks to me, and it's been in the budget, as we're saying, for these last several years, it's almost an afterthought to, we're setting aside, the General Assembly's been saying, it is our intent to make sure that lottery funds are being used for school construction. Right, so this is the section of the budget that's always in, that our needs-based low well funding, that our capital funding that comes directly from the lottery funds. It's the large dollar amounts that pay the large grants like you're using for the middle school. And then just almost as an afterthought in the 21-22 budget, it says, and $300,000 for and is allocated for every single school system for capital needs. And it's gone up a little bit over time. So that's how it's in there. It's almost like an afterthought.
All right, anybody got any questions, any input? I've kind of hit the end of my list, but either these boards are together and it's a good time to kind of talk and.
Ted, is all these positions you got struck through and on the ones where you won't have?
No, those are, 3 of them you look at. And if you look, in our presentation, I love that. But I mean, that's something in the future. 2 of them, which says if dependent on funding, we basically need, I feel like we need a 7th grade math teacher.
Yeah.
So I feel like we need an art. Which, right now I don't have an art at elementary, that would be.
Just to get your clarification, the ones that highlighted, that was not part of our funding request.
No, well, all of them.
Yeah,
Like the ones that says years. to
that's what I'm
come.
saying, yeah, those that you're saying.
So we won't have a music or art teacher at the new school.
Yeah, we have a music teacher and art teacher at the new school. Currently, I don't have an art teacher at with
Okay, I see.
the one that's leaving from Bowman, we replaced with the one that was
Yeah.
at Vision Greenlee, and then I won't have one.
We won't have Spanish 3 through 8 at the new school,
Yeah.
unless you decide they had more to our request than what we requested for something like that.
No drama. What else? There's something else.
There's one drama we want and one we don't.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of the one we don't.
All right, folks, we're together.
Yeah, I got one other thing. I know we got a question on the other night, but I'll share with you too. It's tip off the staff and how they pay, what funds they paid out of, and what everybody does. Thank you. They have to tell you what those numbers mean.
It's crazy to me, you get $15 million to build an athletic complex, but we can't get a few.
We don't pay the commission, we can't be.
My $7. My $7 for that, that's, I apologize.
No,
Makes sense now, so it's clear.
in some ways, it is disheartening that there's not funding out there. for some
Yeah,
of those
it's a
other
week, I don't know.
I don't know how many times I've been asked, why couldn't you put that toward books or this, that, and the other? You can't use it for anything. That's how it was listed.
The restrictions have gotten worse since you're better.
Well, it would make a whole lot of sense, but they're not gonna do it if they just say, here's your money, use it for your need. But it's not gonna happen.
500 million that's going another way could have really helped us a lot too.
Yeah, the vouchers.
I didn't say.
I did.
Yeah, they didn't have to pay that, 220 more million. How? They had 220 more million.
I know.
Price just changed.
3 months. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify about that safety grant too. We don't know anything about that. I know that was a comment that was made the other night that I didn't know. No, I don't, because the state has not told us anything about that. So I just wanted to clarify, Jeff, they have not released that. I just wanted you to know. I don't know because they've not.
Sorry.
Safety grant.
So we've checked into it. Kim Hodgson has sent email after email. That's the state of North Carolina. As you know, when you were back on the board, I'm sure you understand. There's some things we know and there's some things we don't, and that's one thing that I do not know. But I do feel like it has to be recurring, don't you, Jeff? Or
I'd be surprised. Something Chad and I were talking about earlier was who wants to be the state senator who voted against the public safety grant that provides SROs when they're, the shooting happens in their school district.
Yes.
They're not gonna do it.
All right, folks, I think there's no other questions. I'll turn this back over to Chair Masters and Chair Fitchman.
For our board, have one change, we'll move to item 3 and hold that to our next board meeting. Have a motion to do that.
Thank you.
Have a motion on that.
Sure.
what? Yes, I make a motion.
Hold on 3 till our next one. Save the last. Second.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor, you're seen by raising your hand. All right. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting? I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, raise your hand. All right. Masters.
Signature has a motion.
I'll make a motion we adjourn. That's a good. Do we have one thing from last night? The table, did we table the resolution last night? No.
But I don't think there's another one last night. It was our next, like, our next.
Okay, yeah, motion to adjourn.
That's it.
Thank you. All in favor. Everybody traded.
Take 3 while